Hi, Kathy. My name is Chelsea. I'm coming to you from Collegeville, Pennsylvania, where we live, and I wanted to let you know why I've decided to vote for you. As I've learned more about you, I've just been so inspired by your message and your story, where you've come from, what you've done with your life, and where you're going. It's such a powerful message that you have to share. And I'm a mom to two boys, including my youngest here of only 3 weeks, which is why I have no makeup on and tired eyes. but as I think about my two boys and the kind of America that I want them to grow up in, and the kind of opportunities I want them to have, and the kind of attitude and mindset about their lives that I want them to be able to have. Um, I believe that you're going to fight for that. I believe that you're going to help keep that a reality for them. Whereas your opponent and many on the more liberal side, um, it feels like they're actively trying to destroy our way of life, and that's really scary to me. So thank you for running. Best of luck. I support you. I will be turning out in November to vote for you, and I just want to again thank you for sharing your message. I hope that as many people, especially young people, can hear what you have to say.
Hi, I'm Wendy, and I'm voting for Kathy Barnette because I have everything to gain and everything to lose. I see myself in Kathy. She knows the issues and how they relate to all Pennsylvanians. She's a fantastic communicator. She grew up at a pig farm in Alabama, and I grew up what used to be in a little farming town in Pennsylvania. We were raised with the same Christian values and family support. She's a woman that I deeply respect and admire, not only for her military service, but for the courage of her convictions. So if you ask me why I'm voting for Kathy Barnette, why wouldn't I? She's an amazing woman, and she's going to fight for Pennsylvania. Kathy Barnette, 2020.
Hey, this is about our country being safe, and it really is. I'm scared because the Democrats are off the rails, crazy. Trump, I pray for him every day.
Okay, and Kathy Barnette?
And Kathy Barnette, absolutely.
Okay.
I don't want to forget Kathy.
All right, thank you.
This is a big deal.
Great,
Okay.
thanks.
I stand with Kathy Barnette because she stands with small businesses.
Hi, my name is John, and I'm voting for Kathy Barnette. I'm voting for her because we need someone in Congress that can work with Republicans and Democrats. And we need someone who's not like just typical establishment rep. We need someone who's willing to meet on the ground, talk to people, hear what they have to say. Right now, it's just we have this huge rift, I think, between, I guess you could say, progressives, the more liberal people, and conservatives. And we need someone who's willing to bridge that gap, listen to both sides.
This election means that we keep our freedoms and save our babies and save all lives. Kathy's going to help us continue to save lives and defeat the Democrats, keep our freedoms.
Hi. About 6 months ago, I met an amazing woman. A woman who didn't like the way things were going and decided to do something about it. I admire that. She shared the same vision I have for our country, one in which our constitutional rights are preserved and protected, our law enforcement and military are honored and respected, where our children can grow up safe and secure and excel in whatever school situation suits them best. That woman is Kathy Barnette. I believed in her the day I met her. She's not afraid of hard work, and I know she'd work really hard for the Pennsylvania 4 District. So I hope you will join with me and help elect Kathy to Congress. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Chuck Fazio from Plymouth Meeting, and I'm here today to give a testimonial for Kathy Barnette to be my representative. Because I'm not happy with who we have. Madeline Dean, she tried to impeach my president. Madeline Dean, she disrespected A.G. Barr, the Chief Justice of the United States. Very disrespectful. What a lousy representative. Kathy Barnette represents all my ideals. She has a strong background, beautiful woman, and we need a change. Somebody that's going to take care of us, the people, just like Trump said, we the people. And Kathy will do that for us. Kathy Barnette, 100%, all the way.
Hi, my name is Jim Jansen, and I will be voting for Kathy Barnette in November's election for the U.S. House to represent Pennsylvania's 4th Congressional District. I'm currently a registered independent, and up until the last election, I had voted primarily for Democratic candidates. My change had a lot to do with the progressive wing of the left that has embraced an anti-American sentiment and is currently pushing a socialist agenda. I acknowledge that for far too long in our nation's history, we failed to live up to the promise of equality for all people under law. While our founding fathers were flawed individuals, their vision of a country where all men are created equal was paramount to the strides that we have made in the last 60 years to try and keep that promise. That being said, we still have a lot of work to do to provide everyone equal opportunity to the tools needed to realize their full potential in our country. Kathy Barnette will work towards achieving that goal. She believes it starts with education. Education is a driving force to which path we choose in life. For far too long, educational institutions have been run poorly by democratic governments that are far more focused on teachers' unions than they are on the children. She was to hold these schools accountable by promoting school choice. These charter schools have outperformed public schools by a wide margin, both in graduation rates and in reading levels. These charter schools, run with a fraction of the funding public schools. Public schools are very well funded, contrary to belief. A high school degree significantly increases the chances of moving away from poverty and becoming a member of the middle class. Along with education, she's also a proponent of developing more economic opportunities in underserved communities that also drives more upward mobility for those residents. I'm voting for Kathy because she believes that government should not play a major role in our lives. I am not a fan of career politicians. Kathy has promised to work towards term limits in government and only running for 2 terms. She wants to protect our suburbs. There are reasons why people are leaving cities in droves. I do not want government infringing on my rights, or do I want the myriad of issues prevalent in Democratic-run cities coming to my doorstep in the suburbs. I'm a new supporter of rights granted under the Second Amendment. After seeing the chaos and destruction in our American cities and the prospect of this moving into suburban communities, it's never been more important to be able to protect both ourselves, our families, and our property. I currently live in Hatboro, Pennsylvania, with a Democratic mayor. So I am skeptical that our mayor will provide the fine men and women in our police community the support and resources to protect us from this potential lawlessness. Kathy supports our right to bear arms and will protect our right to do so. It's never been more important to get out there and vote in person. If you're able. I've seen far too many instances and read too many articles where there has been fraud and just overall dysfunction in the mail-in process. When going to the voter polls, just make sure we're following the guidelines for social distancing and wearing a mask, provided by the CDC. This election is too important to leave our vote not being counted the chance. For these reasons, I will be both a voter and a supporter for Kathy Barnette on November 3rd. Please join me in supporting Kathy by going to her website at kathybarnettforcongress.com and donating to her campaign. She needs our help and would be a great representative for our community. Thank you very much.
Do you really think Representative Madeline Dean cares about dismantling privilege and classism in America today? I mean, we hear her talking about it all the time. We see her marching with Black Lives Matter and kneeling beside America KKK signs. But does she really care? Let me show you something. This is Madeline's neighborhood. It's quite peaceful here, and the homes are very beautiful. In fact, she is selling her home here for $1.5 million. And she owns a $1 million vacation home in Cape May. Now that's privilege. Follow me a little further. You see, in America, we do not guarantee outcomes, but we should make sure that those who find themselves marginalized, those who find themselves underneath a rock, as I once was, have access to opportunities that allows them to participate in the shared prosperity of this nation. You see, I was a little Black girl who grew up on a pig farm in southern Alabama. I grew up below the bottom rung of the economic ladder. I grew up in a home with no insulation, no running water, an outhouse in the back, and a well on the side. But because no one told me I was a victim, I became the first in my family to go and finish college. I spent 10 years in the U.S. Army Reserves. I was accepted into officer candidacy school, spent time in the financial industry, worked in corporate finance, worked as an adjunct professor of corporate finance. I speak to millions of people. I've authored my first book, and now I'm running for Congress. From a pig farm to Congress, only in America. There's nothing wrong with owning a $1 million home and a $1 million vacation home. But don't lecture me about fair wages when the Philadelphia Inquirer exposes your family business of participating in sweatshops in China, where employees were being paid from $1.49 an hour to $2.20 an hour. Don't talk to me about rich people paying their fair share in taxes when you, yes, you, Madeline Dean, have your millions in an offshore account in the British Islands. I'm sick of the manipulations. I'm sick of all of this division. I'm tired of the lies. I believe we can do better. On November 3rd, please vote for me. My name is Kathy Barnette, and I am running for Congress in the 4th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. My name is Kathy Barnette, and I approve this message.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys? I'm laughing at my own self. I went home and changed clothes. It's like I am cold and I want something warm and fuzzy as I come and talk to you guys today. How are you? I pray all is well with you and your families. We are 23 days away from what I believe is one of the most consequential elections ever. I've been voting since I turned 18. Growing up in the very deep and very rural South, I grew up understanding that I have the blood of slaves coursing through my veins on both sides of my family. I grew up, by the time I came along, Jim Crow laws were no longer in effect. However, the remnants of Jim Crow laws were still very much present in the community in which I grew up in. I can still remember my grandmother walking me into our little town and pointing out businesses where she either had to walk in through the back door or there was a separate waiting area for Black folks. I remember growing up, every year they played Roots. Have y'all seen Roots? Many of you may not remember, there was a documentary that came out, during the 70s as well, Eye on the Prize. And it was a documentary of the civil rights movement. And I remember as a young girl sitting and watching those. And then when I got into my teens, going out and buying them and forcing all of my younger cousins to sit and watch all of it. I bought the Roots series all the way through Chicken George. Some of you guys will remember that. So I understood fully why I, specifically as a young Black girl, needed to vote. And although I voted, although I tried to the best of my ability to make an educated decision, you just don't know what kind of messages are moving around in your mind. And I've mentioned it many times. I was born into the Democrat Party, just like I was born into brown skin. There was no conversation. There was no reasonings on why we do it. No deliberations on why we vote Democrat. I'm Black. You vote Democrat, right? And it really wasn't until I was my junior year in college when I decided to get involved in politics. And I, of course, went to the first Democrat's office that I came to. And as I was sitting, in front of me was a white gentleman speaking to me. And behind me, there was another white gentleman leaning up against a door post. And while the gentleman at the desk was speaking to me, for the first time, I had the thought, do you even know what he believes? Do you even know if what he believes is what you believe? And it just arrested me. And it was such a loud thought in my mind that I swore he could hear it. I was so uncomfortable. I could not wait to get out of his office. And that was a seed that was planted. It would be many years before I actually stopped voting exclusively Democrat. So you move from exclusively Democrat to voting a hybrid to where I find myself today, fully convinced that the Democratic Party, specifically as it is today, have nothing of value to offer, not just the Black community, but to the American community. What we are experiencing today, there's so much aggression. And almost every policy that I've studied Democrats tend to take a very parental perspective, a paternalistic approach to addressing the issue. It's one of them being the superior and the rest of us being inferior. It's as if we are dependent upon them, is the approach that they take. And you can see that in virtually every single policy that we are contending with as a nation. For example, and I think we put out a question out there for you guys to ask me a question. Tell me what question. I'm trying to read from afar, guys, and he just moved it. So now I lost it. Okay, tell me what questions you have on issues. Wait, touch it so it can pop up. I can see it bigger. The question that I'm asking people. Okay, tell me what questions you have or issues are important to you. I want to hear your voice. Yes. So my team, as I talk to you tonight, are going to find some of your questions and post them up there. And we're going to have somewhat of a conversation that way as well. We are 23 days out, again, from one of the most consequential elections. My opponent is so plastic. If you have not seen our first debate, it was hosted by the League of Women Voters, then please go out to our website. I don't know if we have it on our website, but I'm sure we have it on our Facebook page. Is it on our website? Okay, we're going to post it to our website so that you guys can have multiple avenues in which to get access to it. But you can definitely go to our Facebook page at Kathy Barnette for Congress PA4. And you can take a look at it. At one point, when it became really crystallized for me that my opponent is plastic and have absolutely nothing to offer we, the people, is when I think her name was Jamie. Very nice. Jamie, if you're watching, thank you very much for a very balanced conversation. I thought you did a really good job with hosting the debate between my opponent and I. But nonetheless, Jamie asked a question in reference to the racial tensions that's going on all around us, right? I mean, the rioting, the looting, as it relates to policing. I mean, she just asked, a question. How do we respond to that? What are our thoughts to that? What are some of our ideas and policies that we intend to bring to the table? We only got 90 seconds to speak to this issue. My opponent, it felt like she spent 80 seconds of the 90 seconds name dropping, talking about John Lewis. John Lewis and I crossed a bridge together. John Lewis and I walked out of a room together. One day, John Lewis looked me in the eye and said, I don't know what she said, but that's crazy. I'm like, what? Why are you talking about John Lewis? So plastic. These politicians are so plastic. And I earnestly believe we can do better. You and I may not agree on every issue. We're humans. And best of all, we're Americans. And so we have this thing called freedom of thought, to have our own opinions on things. And so I don't expect people to agree with me. I do expect people to have a conversation with me, to just have to talk, right? And maybe we still won't agree on everything. I don't expect us to. But I often ask people to prioritize your life. I am sure the top 3 things that you are interested in, I am interested in. And these are the things that we need to, be very mindful of. Yeah, here's a question. How can we drive awareness of your campaign? I love that. Thank you, Terrence. Because, listen, how many of you guys know what I mean when I say gatekeepers into the Black community? How many of you know that? Well, the Black community, unlike most communities, have these self-proclaimed gatekeepers. They come in all different shapes and sizes. And these gatekeepers into the Black community specifically are not really interested in bringing in the first Black person who have ever ran for Congress in Montgomery County. You would think that would be a really big deal, right? Especially since we have all these signs popping up about my little Black life mattering, and about, let's have a conversation about Black people and Black inclusion and wokeness and all of that, right? You would think that these Black gatekeepers would be interested in bringing me into their circle and allowing me to speak to their members, followers, congregation, whatever the case may be. And that has not been the case. We have called several Black pastors, and all of them that we've called have said, no, they're not interested in me having a conversation or being introduced to their people. All of them except for, I want to give a shout out to Bishop Michael Anthony, Heart of God Family Worship Center in Pottstown. What an amazing, authentic bunch of Christians. I so thoroughly enjoyed being able to come, Bishop, to speak to your people. Thank you so very much for the opportunity. But there are a number of other Black organizations that we have talked to, churches, pastors that we have reached out to, and they want nothing to do with me. Why do you think they want nothing to do with me? One, as I often say, I don't fit their narrative. I am not a victim. I am not oppressed. And I know I still have white progressive liberals telling me I'm oppressed. I am not oppressed. And when you say you're not oppressed, they're like, well, you just don't know. I think I would know if I was oppressed or not, right? And yet, they're not inviting me in. I believe it's because I'm not a victim. I don't fit the narrative that America is systemically racist, that America is rotten at the core. Are there racists in America? Yes, there are racists in America. I think they come in more than just one shade of color. But yes, right? People can be evil, downright evil, and can do some downright despicable things. But I believe our nation overall, just judging off this district, the people I've had the opportunity to meet all throughout this district, we have some of the best people, guys. And the Congressional District 4. I mean, just amazing people. You guys have made me viable. And it wasn't really the Black community that made the first Black person who have ever dared to stand up and run for Congress in this county viable. The people who have made the first Black person to ever run for Congress in this county viable are you, primarily white people. Thank you. You are my brothers. You are my sisters. You are my fellow American. And I'm so very grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for coming alongside this campaign. You did not see me as the first Black person doing anything. You heard my message. You heard my heart, and it agreed with yours. And I'm so very grateful to you. You know who you are. You've donated. You've attended my rallies, my meet and greets. You've canvassed for me. You're out there handing out signs, standing on street corners for me, just waving your signs and all of that. Thank you so much. Thank you. I truly appreciate you guys. You would never fully know how much I appreciate you. I walk into the room and you guys are applauding, and you could care less that I'm Black. What you care about, and I feel it earnestly, is that you see someone who is authentic, who's not plastic, who loves this country, and who wants to see everyone do well. And isn't that really how we should judge one another? I just think it's very interesting that those who are always talking about the color of my skin don't really want to have anything to do with me. So I'm putting all of y'all on notice. by the end of next week, I will start making your name known so that other people will know exactly who you are. If we have reached out to you and you have told me no, or you don't want to have anything to do with me, I'm going to put you on blast, because I think the wool needs to be pulled from over the eyes of so many people. You know, it was a really interesting fact when I learned that not all overseers on slave plantations were white. They had black overseers as well. They were called drivers, and their job was the exact same as the white overseers. That was to keep black folks in line. No one want to hear what you got to say. No one cares about your opinion. Just hold this line. Toe this line right here. And that is what I see with the overwhelming majority of these black gatekeepers, self-proclaimed black gatekeepers within the black community. So you have been warned. And remember, I have a very large base, and I will make sure that everyone knows exactly who you are. Am I putting you on blast? Yes, I will, because we have everything to lose. Our people, not just black people, but our people, the American people, the people of this district, we deserve so much better. And I am not playing games. I told you guys from the very beginning, I am not your typical Republican. I am not used to having my behind beat and handed to me. I'm putting you on warning. So with that, let me move on. What's the next question? Yeah. Oh, they took it down. Yeah, basic need for food for low-income families. And there's another one, school choice. Do we deserve to know about your views on packing the Supreme Court? I know. Let's do that one. Simone, do we deserve to know your view on packing the United States Supreme Court? As you put a smiley face. Do you guys know that Joe Biden, maybe we can find that video and just link it for them. Joe Biden is on camera saying the American people voters do not deserve to know his position on packing the Supreme Court. Ridiculous. Talk about fundamentally changing this country forever. You know, we get to vote in the president every 4 years. We get to vote in or out the people in the House of Representatives every 2 years. We get to vote in and out Congress, those in the Senate as well. But the Supreme Court, that's eternity. That's until they either retire or die. Or get removed. But that one, right, has a very significant consequence on the direction of this nation. And again, if Democrats, and not all Democrats, so please know that, okay? My Democrat friends out there. I'm not talking about all Democrats. But I can sit here and qualify all day long. I think you guys need to start qualifying and start speaking out against this radical progressive left within your party. But when I say Democrat, I'm clearly not talking. I mean, it's a very nuanced conversation, like most conversations in our nation. Very nuanced. We're not just talking about, most Democrats are good people. They just want to work and pay their bills, send their kids off to school and retire just like anyone else. But there is a very radical, very progressive component within the Democrat Party that is very loud, very well funded, very determined. My opponent happens to be one of them. She votes 100% of the time in line with Nancy Pelosi. She bobbleheads everything Nancy Pelosi tells her to do. She's not representing this district, but instead she's representing the agenda of Nancy Pelosi. Here's a way that we know she's not representing this district. I've been saying it for some time now, and I'm going to continue to say it. If you are waiting for a stimulus bill, it ain't going to happen. I talked to so many people within this district from one end to the other. who are waiting for that stimulus bill, the heroes bill, right? She loves talking about the heroes bill, the stimulus bill. She loves talking about that. But my opponent co-sponsored this latest round of trying to push this stimulus bill through. She co-sponsored defunding the police by $600 million. They reduced the overall budget from $3 trillion to $2 trillion. Over half of that $1 trillion went to defunding the police by $600 million. It's like adding a poison pill to the bill. They had no intentions of that bill being picked up. It's a non-starter. You start talking about defunding the police, that's a non-starter for reasonable, rational people, right? And so, of course, the Senate is not going to pick the bill up. But she took part, co-sponsored, signed her name on the bill as well as reducing it by $600 million by trying to defund the police. My opponent and her friends on the radical left, they are intent on inflicting as much pain and as much chaos onto the American people as possible in hopes that you all are stupid and will blame Donald Trump. Because that's exactly how she pivoted and talked about it during our debate. Is that we reduced the bill, but we won't reduce our values, she says. She knows $600 million of that reduction went to defund the police. It's a poison pill. My opponent is giving the illusion that she's working. She loves talking about the 28 bills she has introduced. Anyone can introduce a bill. But how many of those bills have a snowball chance in Hades of becoming law? Because they're so utterly ridiculous. None of them do, right? So she's giving the illusion that she's working when she's not. So yes, I believe we as the American people have the right to know our stance on packing the Supreme Court. I am categorically against packing the Supreme Court. Okay, next question. With education and the disparities. Listen, I've said it so many times. There is a legitimate conversation to be had. One of your questions were about reducing the disparities. Do you have that to pop up so people can see? Kathy, good to meet you today. Thank you. My question is, at the local level, how would you go about reducing disparities for minorities? Pick one: health disparities, housing disparities. I know, so many disparities without implementing more welfare programs. I agree. How can we lift up those less advantaged without enabling survival on public programs? Thank you. Kristen, I believe is pronounced, right? Thank you so much, because I say it all the time. I have never seen a welfare program get anyone out of the hood. I've never seen a welfare program get someone above just being sustained at one level. Never seen it. So what do we need to do? Because there is a legitimate conversation to be had about the disparities throughout our nation, and specifically in the congressional 4th district. As I've said to you guys before, this district, Montgomery County, is the second wealthiest county in the state of Pennsylvania. So why do we have food deserts in our county? Why are there some places where there is no good choice within the community for people to go and purchase good food, reasonably priced food, healthy food? Why is that? But instead they have liquor stores on every other corner, street corner. Why is it that in the second wealthiest county in the state of Pennsylvania, we have Pottstown, for example, that is 25% below the poverty level? There are places that are 25% below the poverty level. Why is it that in the second wealthiest county in the state of Pennsylvania, we have areas within our county that qualify for the opportunity zone, meaning they are 35% below the poverty level? That's a problem. It is a legitimate discussion to be had about the policies that are needed to make sure those who are marginalized, those who find themselves underneath a rock, like I once was, those who find themselves underrepresented. It's a legitimate conversation to be had about how do we get those particular people to be able to participate in the shared prosperity of this nation. That's a legitimate conversation. And it's a legitimate conversation that could be had right now with all this Black Lives Matter foolishness, however you fall on one side of that coin or the other. This is the right time to start having this particular conversation. But that conversation will never be had with the brood of vipers we call politicians, specifically my opponent who's in office right now. Because my opponent, as well as others, have hijacked a very legitimate conversation that needs to be had in our country and flipped it up on its ear. And they got us out here talking about defund the police. What? The latest poll numbers came out. 84% of Blacks want the police in their community. Black folks want good policing in their community. We don't want crime, just like you don't want crime. We want to be able to walk across the street without fear of our little babies getting shot. We want that just like everyone else wants that. And it's really interesting because when I go into certain places, especially down here in the southern portion, I mean, you guys love your policing. It leans more left than right down here in the southern portion of this county. You love your police officers, your police community. You guys are very proud of that. And you make sure that it is fully funded and you make sure that they are well trained. I've seen all of them with proper gear on. So why would we? So for those who live in that in this southern portion of the district that tends to lean more left than not, and who are enjoying the safety of a well-funded, well-ran police department, why would you not think that others who live in predominantly Black communities wouldn't want the exact same thing? Why do you think we would want defunded police officers? What's the other word that they're using? Abolish the police. Why do you think we would want that? No one wants that. So instead of having legitimate conversations about disparities in our education and our housing and in these food deserts and job opportunities, trade schools, things like that, we're talking about foolish stuff like critical race theory being taught to our children. We're talking about, let's make sure everyone understand what white privilege is. We're talking about things like, again, defunding or abolishing the police. Foolishness. For example, here's an issue. As I've often said to you guys, there were 3 things that I did to claw my way from up underneath a rock. I was under a rock. I mean, almost every obstacle you can think of being placed in front of someone, it was in front of me. 3 things I did. It's very simple. 1, I got an education. For me, it was a 4-year degree with other degrees behind it. But everyone should not go to a 4-year college. That's a fact. That is not for everyone. But I remember being in high school and we had a trade school attached to our high school. And we would all get together as kids. And then when the bell rung, you would see all the kids going off to different areas. And some would go up the hill to the trade school, right? Because they had apparently been identified that you're probably not going to go to a 4-year college. You probably don't have interest in going to a 4-year college. You probably don't have the resources to go to a 4-year college, but you are capable. of learning a real trade and being able to have something tangible within your wheelhouse of skills. We need to bring trade schools back, and we can do that here at Montgomery College, Community College, up there by Pottstown. I visited with several manufacturing companies, and they told me two things, every last one of them. They only had two things. When I asked, what can I do when I get to Congress to help you and your business thrive in this community? They all told me two things: trade schools and fair and balanced trade agreements with China. Those are the two things that they told me. And I thought that was so interesting. I thought they were going to say, I don't know, something about this, something about that. But all of them said two things, every last one of them. So they said they have jobs, but they don't have skilled people. If you want to eradicate income inequality, get an education that then allows you to get a job, any job. I said that to a white progressive, and she said, no, you want to wait for the right job, a good job. And I explained to her, that's a very privileged statement to make, because when you're under a rock, like I once was, you need a job. You can't tell me to sit back while I'm underneath a rock and just wait for the right job to miraculously fall down in my lap. You get a job, which then teaches you skill sets, soft skills, some hard skills, how to interact with people, how to network, how to say please and thank you and smile, right? And not be mean mugging people, or how to wake up and go somewhere on time every day, even when you don't want to go, right? Those are soft skills that then turn into hard skills, and you begin to move up the ladder of life, right? So the first thing I did to get off the pig farm and to have a better start at life, a better chance at life, is that I got an education. Secondly, I got a job. Third, I got married early, before I had kids. That's what I did. I'm the first in my family to go and finish college. I tried to, my family did the best that they could, and I'm so very grateful for them. I love them. But you can't give what you don't have. And so a lot of what I learned is just by watching, thinking, praying, and then acting, right? So how do we get rid of this disparity? I believe a lot of ills, a lot of woes are eradicated when you have a job. And bringing good jobs into this community. Now, my opponent, she's big on writing bills, and she's big on welfare programs. She's not calling them welfare programs. She's calling them stimulus packages here, there, and left. But what about incentivizing our governor to get his foot off our throats so that we can get back to work, so that businesses can open once again and get back to doing what they do, hiring people, paying people, serving people, right? That's what we need to do. A lot of these disparities, even in education, I think it was very interesting. I was looking at Wissahickon, and you begin to see, by the time a minority kid who is on free and reduced lunch, that's how they determine, whether you're poor or not. Minority kids, because they can see if you're Black, white, Hispanic, on free and reduced lunch, you begin to see, by the time they are in third grade, you begin to see this divide that takes place by third grade. And it's a academic performance disparity that does not meet. My opponent says these schools just need more money. Wissahickon, their annual budget is $100 million. Divided by a little bit over 4,400 kids. That's $22,000 per kid. Even the ones that are off the tracks, they don't need more money. But you need to be able to have someone who understands what it means to be poor, to be without. I took remedial everything when I went to college. But I kept at it. I kept working. I authored my first book, wrote it all by myself. And it is a very well-read book, well-written and easy to read book. I had to learn that. We can learn. We can learn no matter where you start. You have to believe that people have the ability to learn, that people have the ability to adapt, that we have the ability to innovate. But when you bring in socialism, if socialism existed, I would still be on that pig farm. Socialism would have capped me right there on that pig farm. So praise God, we have a republic. What's another question? Yeah, they don't want to talk about the border. We have videos, so we're going to show some videos for you guys. Let's do that. I'm going to show you guys some of the videos from our Unity rally. We're going to have a couple of more Unity rallies. Again, we have 23 more days, and we're going to just light this place up. We're going to be everywhere. And when you see it, you need to drop what you're doing and be a part of this. So here's Maddie and Sophia, 17-year-old high school girls. They rock. Here you go.
Hey, how is everyone today? Okay, so my name is Maddie Matthew. And I'm Sophia Behay. And we both we're seniors at Upper Dublin High School. So on Thursday night, we had the pleasure to attend Kathy's meet and greet in Upper Dublin. We got to meet with her privately and discuss a lot of real issues that we face. And one of the big pointers that she brought up was education. And I think education is so important for especially young adults to learn. So after COVID, a lot of schools were forced to shut down and become online. And in the springtime, we were fortunate enough, our schools already have Chromebooks, but the transition still was not that great. But as we've still been online, it's been progressing and getting better and better each day. But I feel as if there's still a lot that we can do with our education.
Though our system of education has changed a lot this spring, it's still not the same as being back in school. Even when we were in school, there was a lot of issues with the curriculum and different teachers. I had a personal experience with one of my English teachers. All right, and I'm also part of the Ukrainian community. Добрий день. Приємно вас бачити. Слава Україні. Героям слава. And I'm a first-generation American. Both my parents came from communistic country. Well, my mother's from Canada. My father lived in Poland. And in school, we were talking about the Odyssey. Then we started talking about Marxism. And the teacher started explaining that it was the best system for America to have today. A few students raised, a few students raised their hands and expressed their own opinions and agreed with the teacher. If they can raise their hands and say they agree, I should also be able to express my own opinions. I politely raised my hand and explained my personal story of my parents and my grandparents. Since that day, the entire class hasn't looked at me in the same way. I was against Marxism, as I think everyone should be. And ever since then, it pains to have teachers telling me what I should think and that we should be pro-Marxism.
And so this year I am taking AP Government and Politics at my school. And I feel as if my school should be giving a nonpartisan view so that we as young adults can decide what party, which concepts, which policies we want to really pick up on and support. Recently, I can tell which side he leans, and he's only been showing articles, research, and policies from one side. And when someone from the other side tries to bring up arguments or like different policies that they support, he kind of is in denial and basically says that they don't exist. So I feel as if our education and our curriculum really needs to take a shift, and I feel as if Kathy Barnette can do that successfully. So one of the sayings that I heard growing up was, truth is treason to those who live in an empire of lies. And it's really hard to get the courage to speak up, especially come up here, because I'm nervous, of course. And like, it's very important that you have the courage to form your own pathway and really persuade that onto other people, because no one's ever going to agree on everything, but I feel as if you should really focus on what you believe and then stick to that. Another thing is, at my school right now, we still have sports, but we're not in person for school. And these sports, you're not required to wear a mask. They just go onto the field and play. They're not getting tested. They're not even being randomly tested. The spectators do have to wear masks, but that isn't always the case from what I've seen. And so how can I, as a senior in high school, not be able to return to class and sit 6 feet apart from my peers while wearing a mask 8 hours a day, but my friends can still play in sports? I feel as if you have more like contact in sports than you do in school, which is kind of crazy. And
One more thing. So, me and Maddie are both 17, so we cannot vote on November 3rd. If we could, we would have had her vote, Kathy. I just wanted to say, we ask all of you to vote for Kathy Barnette come election day, because me and Maddie, we can't vote, we don't have a voice. And you're not only going to be voting for yourselves and your communities, but also for the next generation.
yeah, so you really need to focus on your posterity when you make this choice. And a vote for Kathy is a vote for everyone, so. And I also want to express with this upcoming election that the presidential election is very important. What happens in your federal government does impact you, but I feel as if your local government has more of a say in what happens in your community, and you have more of a voice in your local government. So I just wanted you to keep that all in mind, and people should be voting for both local and federal candidates.
Kathy Barnette.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, guys. That was Maddie and Sophia. Are they not the cutest? 17 years old. I am so hopeful that if we can just get past these millennials, Lord Jesus, we may be able to save our nation. The next group of people coming after millennials are mostly emotional. Although I did meet a 30-year-old man today, young man today, who was very deliberate. And of course, I have a 28-year-old on my team who is like an old man and a old soul in a young person's body. So every now and again, we look up and we see a millennial who actually think their way through life versus feeling their way through life. But these Gen Zers, they are so impressive. They're so very thoughtful and deliberate. And they are not led by uninformed emotions. Emotions are good if they are informed emotions, right? You have to know why you're doing what you're doing. You just can't respond and react. I think this next group of people did not get a participation trophy just for showing up. I think that is what happened to these millennials. They just weren't taught how to deal with their emotions when life gives them lemons. Okay, next is Bill Mahoney. Now, Bill talks about my opponent because Bill's story is chilling to the bone. I cannot listen to his story or see him and not think about my own babies and not think about, what a horrible place to be placed in. And then to call your congresswoman and she basically, pats you on the head and sends you out. That's what we're dealing with. So here's Bill.
Hi, my name is Bill Mahoney, and reason I got involved with helping out Kathy to try to get into the our representatives in the congressional district is that for the up into the shutdown, I had several conversations with Madeline Dean over different issues that I had a problem with, and her answers were always the textbook answers, and she was basically seemed like she was following the agenda of the radical left wing and really didn't care about our district. And then in March, when the shutdown occurred, I have a 22-year-old son who had cancer at age 2, again at age 5, is now battling stage 4 colon cancer. In March, he was scheduled for a liver surgery, remove a cancerous tumor. And when the shutdown occurred, it was determined that cancer surgery was elective surgery. And also during that time period, the Democratic Party pushed through to have abortions were deemed necessary. I met with Madeline Dean on that and expressed the problem. And it was, the answer I got was more, well, it's a shame, but you know, she really didn't address it at all. And somebody like, I can't believe somebody could be that cold-hearted to believe that allowing abortions but not allowing a 22-year-old to have a cancerous tumor removed. As anybody knows, when you delay cancer treatment, it gets worse. It doesn't get better. So now we're dealing with more complex problem because of the policies that the Democratic Party has done. When I told Kathy my story, you could tell that she knew what I felt like, and she really cared about it. Has constantly checked in to see how things were going. And the more I listened to her, the more I found out how much she really wants to represent our district and what's important to us, and not worry about what the Democratic Party should be and which bills should I, you know, she's doing the right thing. Madeline Dean is given stuff because it was assumed that our district was a guaranteed Democratic win, so she could put through the radical left ideas. But Kathy really understands what's going on. She understands the small businesses, and she really is a caring person, is the type of person that we want in Congress. She's not a politician, she's a person who cares. And that's why we need to get people like Kathy elected. Thank you.
That was Bill. He is truly a precious man who has dealt with so much in his life. Bill, we love you. I just want to give a shout out to William George and Dave Tribbett. Dave, we have just reached out to you out there on the YouTube world. Get in touch with us. We're going to take you up on your offer. William George, thank you so much for going out there and hustling for us. These are the kind of people who will get me over the finish line. And, you know, again, every time someone says, good luck, Kathy, I'm like, no, good luck to you. Because if I lose, you lose. Literally, if I lose, you lose. So you need to have some self-interest in this and get engaged. If you have not went canvassing, that's a problem. If you have not been phone banking, that's a problem. If you have not gotten a yard sign and put it in your yard, that's a problem. If you have not donated to this campaign and you have the ability to donate, that's a problem. If you can go get a $2.50 cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts and you haven't given me $2, that's a problem. I'm serious. That's a problem. I have people contributing $2.50. I got a check in the mail today for $10. Everyone has a role to play. Figure out what your role is and get busy doing it. Have you shared my videos on your page? And do not put it private to your page only. Do it public. I'm Black. So the odds of them calling you a racist is slim. They may not like my message, but they're not going to call you a racist, right? For posting about me. So post me and make sure you do it public. What was the other thing I was going to say? I forgot. Let me tell you, wearing this tonight was a bad wardrobe choice. I did not take into account these beaming lights on me. I am struggling. So, but you know what? I would take this pain. Listen, here is another video I want to show you guys. This one is from, who is it from? Rob Jordan, a distant cousin of Michael Jordan. Not really. But here's Rob.
Everybody, Rob Jordan.
Thank you, everyone. I'm right here. I'm Rob Jordan, and I'm president of the Log Cabin Republicans of the Philadelphia area. Actually, I'm the president of the whole Pennsylvania chapter. We're thrilled to be here today to support Kathy Barnette in her historic run here in Montgomery County for several reasons. I've grown to know and admire Kathy. She admires a lot of things that make our group, our LGBT group, special. One of them is just to recognize the merits of any one person and to know that we're all made up, the whole country's made up of minorities. We have all sorts of special people in the world. We all bring our own special talents and attributes to the organization, to the local region. We just want to be recognized for our merit and what we can bring to the table. And that's one of the tenets that Kathy puts out. I don't know if you follow, but recently President Trump last year appointed Rick Grinnell as the ambassador to Germany, one of our members. And Rick made it not just because he's a man or he's LGBT or he can speak German. Rick made that post because he was the best person for that position. And it was a very difficult position. Very difficult position. Germany's one of our biggest allies in the world, but they also consume a lot of our resources. We support a lot of operations, a lot of military bases in Germany, and we need to. But we need to mind the shop, and that's one of the tenets of the Log Cabin Republicans. One of the tenets of President Trump is that America should be first. If we're putting out millions of dollars and resources in these countries, we should, get our own back. We should make sure that our interests are noticed and our interests are followed up on, and that's something that Rick did. So, if you ever meet Rick Grinnell, he has a lot of funny stories about Angela Merkel and the German people. We still have very close ties with Germany. But as Kathy knows, we need to put America first. We need to put this region first, and we're not to be taken advantage of. The other thing I like about Kathy is that she is very transparent and open. And that's something we need in the congressperson for this district. That's something you don't have right now. We need dialogue. LGBT folks want to communicate, and we want to know what's best for our programs and our people in the area. We want constant communication. You're not getting that with your current congressperson. So with Kathy, you'll have someone who is an outstanding communicator. She's great with dialogue. She listens to people, and she communicates well. So that's another big tenet that we have with the Log Cabin Republican Club. And the other thing we're also big on is the economic vitality of the region. Kathy knows that small businesses make up 90% of the local economy here in the region. And you're not being taken care of right now with the current congressperson in charge. You're not being taken care of with some of the current political leadership involved. It's been a very difficult year with COVID. 2021 will be extremely difficult, 2022 as well. But with someone like Kathy on the federal side, we'll have someone who will look out for the resources of Montgomery County and do whatever she can to keep the businesses open, to expand our businesses, to get our hours back open, to get our facilities open again. We can't continue to be closed down the way we have been for the past 6 months. If that continues, we're looking at a depression or a 10, 20-year recovery period. So we need to turn this around quickly, and we have a great candidate here, Kathy Barnette, who can help us do that. So again, we're proud to endorse Kathy as a Log Cabin. We hope you'll, again, talk about her to your family, your neighbors, your friends, and continue to support her. Very, very proud to be here today to support Kathy Barnette for Congress. Thank you.
Rob's off. Rob's off.
Oh my goodness, Rob is so awesome, right, guys? I know. Oh, I just love it. Let me tell you, I don't care who you are. I don't care what your journey in life has been. I don't care what your political affiliation is. I don't care the color of your skin. or your national origin. I don't care. The only thing I care about is that, do you love my country and do you want to see everyone do well? That's the only criteria. I love my country. I want to see everyone do well. I don't care what your story is. I don't care what your journey is. I believe we have the right to respect everyone's. We have an obligation to respect the rights and the dignity of everyone, right? And it can become a very nuanced conversation very quickly, but it just starts with the fact that we are all Americans. That Constitution applies to all of us. And do we want to see everyone do well? I want to see everyone do well. I don't care. I don't care who you are, what your journey is. I love people. I love my country. And I love the people of this nation. So let me tell you guys, we have received endorsements from all over. We've received endorsements from all of the Fraternal Order of Police organizations in our county. Thank you, guys. Let me tell you, you will not have a greater advocate than me when it comes to our men and women in blue. You won't. You won't. I will run right up there beside them. You won't find a greater advocate. I love them. I'm so, you know what? I appreciate people who work for me. I appreciate that. I think we all should. We've received the endorsement from the Law Cabin LGBTQ. They got it mixed up on the board. LGBTQ. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, guys and girls. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. We've received endorsements from 4 different Hindu groups. Okay. Hindus, from what I have learned, tend to lean left in their voting. But I have received the endorsement from 4 Hindu groups: the National Right to Life, Asian Americans for Kathy Barnette. I think they have put up a billboard for me on 422. I haven't seen it, don't know anything about it, but that's what I heard. And I think I may have gotten a picture of it. You guys rock. Thank you so much. My Chinese Asian Americans, they have knocked on thousands of doors for me just in the King of Prussia area alone. I think the last time I talked to them, they were upwards of 4,000 doors. I mean, these people rock. And I am so grateful to them. I'll never forget, Paul said, the leader, one of the leaders of the Chinese Asian group, that this is his first time getting engaged in politics here, and that he came to this nation with nothing, fleeing communism in China. And he said, the reason why I'm getting engaged now is because I have nowhere else to go. If America turns communist, I have nowhere else to go. Wake up, Americans. Oh my goodness, what's the football player name? Jack Brewer. Yes, Jack Brewer. Eagles, right? Okay. Wait, no, get it back up. I can just read off here. One of the great congressmen, Glenn G.T. Thompson. He is so amazing. Maggie's List, GOA. Who else? I said the National Right to Life. Senator Doug Mastriano, love him. The firearm owners. I know. Firearm Owners Against Crime have endorsed me as well. And so many others. There's a reason, guys. Because I love my country and I want to see everyone do well. Well, this is our show. Thank you so much. We have so much going on. Again, you need to get a yard sign. 23 more days. If you haven't gotten engaged yet, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Don't be late to the party. Get engaged now. Make sure you go and talk to your neighbors. Listen, unbubble wrap yourself and go out. And if you feel uncomfortable talking to people about politics, get some of my palm cards and just hand it out to your neighbor, okay? And run on back into your home. But do something more than you did the day before. So get a yard sign, talk to your neighbors about this election, but specifically about me. Donate. Go to kathybarnetforcongress.com and subscribe to our newsletter so you can see where we are. We have so much going on this week. We got some really fun things going on in the next 23 days, and you need to be there. We need everybody. Don't sit and wait for others to do your part. Get engaged. We have the Astro rally, something going on Sunday, October 18th at 4:30, North Penn VFW. We have a virtual town hall this Wednesday, October 14th at 7:45 p.m. And then we have canvassing this week and specifically this weekend. So subscribe so you can know exactly what we're going to be doing in regards to canvassing. Going to be a little bit different, a lot of fun. So make sure you are engaged. Blessings, and make sure you share this. Take off private setting, make it public, and share it. Blessings.
Do you really think Representative Madeline Dean cares about dismantling privilege and classism in America today? I mean, we hear her talking about it all the time. We see her marching with Black Lives Matter and kneeling beside America KKK signs. But does she really care? Let me show you something. This is Madeline's neighborhood. It's quite peaceful here, and the homes are very beautiful. In fact, she is selling her home here for $1.5 million. And she owns a $1 million vacation home in Cape May. Now that's privilege. Follow me a little further. You see, in America, we do not guarantee outcomes, but we should make sure that those who find themselves marginalized, those who find themselves underneath a rock, as I once was, have access to opportunities that allows them to participate in the shared prosperity of this nation. You see, I was a little Black girl who grew up on a pig farm in southern Alabama. I grew up below the bottom rung of the economic ladder. I grew up in a home with no insulation, no running water, an outhouse in the back, and a well on the side. But because no one told me I was a victim, I became the first in my family to go and finish college. I spent 10 years in the U.S. Army Reserves. I was accepted into officer candidacy school, spent time in the financial industry, worked in corporate finance, worked as an adjunct professor of corporate finance. I speak to millions of people. I've authored my first book, and now I'm running for Congress. From a pig farm to Congress, only in America. There's nothing wrong with owning a $1 million home and a $1 million vacation home. But don't lecture me about fair wages when the Philadelphia Inquirer exposes your family business of participating in sweatshops in China, where employees were being paid from $1.49 an hour to $2.20 an hour. Don't talk to me about rich people paying their fair share in taxes when you, yes, you, Madeline Dean, have your millions in an offshore account in the British Islands. I'm sick of the manipulations. I'm sick of all of this division. I'm tired of the lies. I believe we can do better. On November 3rd, please vote for me. My name is Kathy Barnette, and I am running for Congress in the 4th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. My name is Kathy Barnette, and I approve this message.